Hello, everyone. So this is part two of multiplying polynomials. When I left off at the last video, what we were doing is we were working on, we learned two strategies. Both of them were the box method and also the distribution method to solving or multiplying polynomials. So if you go back, well, actually, it erased on this page, so I don't have it anymore. But you should have it on your paper, okay? So moving forward, I left off saying that we were going to use the box method to solve these polynomials, multiplying these polynomials. So if you guys remember, what you're going to do during your box method is you're just going to draw a box just like this, okay? Make sure your box has 4 squares. Now remember, you can use the distribution or the box method. It really doesn't matter. So I'm going to take this first polynomial right here, and I'm going to put it on this on top. So it's going to be x and then a negative 9. And then I'm going to take my second polynomial, and I'm going to put it right here on the side, which is x and negative 4. Now remember, we're going to multiply our x's, which is going to give us x squared. We're going to multiply our x times a negative 9, which is going to give me a negative 9x. We're going to multiply our x and our negative 4, which is going to give us a negative 4x. And we're going to multiply the negative 9 and the negative 4, which will give us a positive 36. Now, we multiply, or now that we've multiplied everything, we can combine our like terms. And as you see, we have a negative 4x, and we also have a negative 9x that we can combine together, okay? So when we combine our like terms, first we're going to write this in standard form. So remember, we write in standard form always using our highest degree going first. So that would be x squared. We have a negative 4x, we have a negative 9x, and we have a positive 36. Remember, those terms highlighted in yellow or in the yellow box can be combined because they're like terms. So we have x squared. If I have a negative 4 and a negative 9, a negative 4 and a negative 9, it means that I'm going to have a negative 13x plus 36. And this is going to be my answer right here. Okay, so let's move on to the next one. So we're going to use the box method for this one as well. So what I want you to do is draw another box right here. Okay, you draw your other box. Make sure there's four smaller boxes in your squares. We're going to take our first 2x minus 3 and we'll put it on top. So we'll just put 2x and we'll do a negative 3 here. Then we're going to take the 4x minus 5. So we'll put the 4x here and then negative 5 on the side. Now we're going to multiply starting here. So our 4x and our 2x is going to multiply to be 8x squared. We're going to multiply the 4x and then negative 3, which is going to give me a negative 12x. We're going to go down here. We're going to multiply the negative 5 and the 2x, which is going to give me a negative 10x. And we're going to multiply the negative 5 times the negative 3, which is going to give me a positive 15. Remember, a negative and a negative turns into a positive. Now, once again, let me change my color. We're going to look to see what we can combine. I have a 10x, a negative 10x, and a negative 12x. So I'm just going to put a little box around them. And this is just to remind me that I can combine these like terms. Why? Because they have like terms. So what I'm going to do, let me draw like a little line over here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write it in standard form, starting with the term that has the highest degree. So that's going to be an 8x to the second degree. I have a negative 10x. I have a negative 12x. And I have a positive 15. Okay? Remember, my negative 10 and my negative 12x, I can combine. I bring down my 8x squared. If I combine my negative 10 and my negative 12, that's going to give me a negative 22x plus 36. This is going to be my answer. Okay? I'm going to go ahead and just switch colors just because. We're going to do the same thing down here. I want you guys to follow me. You guys pay attention to what I'm doing because you guys are going to have to do this independently. So we're going to draw another square, drawn 4 boxes. I'm going to take my first term here and I'm going to put it on top. So I'm going to put my 2x here, and I have a positive 6, and then I have a 3x and a negative 2. So my 3x goes here, my negative 2 goes here. I'm going to multiply my 3x and my 2x, which is going to give me 6x squared, or to the second degree. And then my 3x times 6x, which is going to give me an 18x. Okay? And then my 2x times my negative 2, which is going to give me a negative 4x. And then my negative 2 times a 6, which is going to give me a negative 12. Now, I have blue here, so I'm going to put a box around those that can be combined. My terms that have my like terms, so I can combine them. All right? So I'm going to write this in standard form. I'm going to take this 6x squared. All right, and then I'm going to put a positive 18x, and then a negative 4x, and then a negative 12. The beautiful thing about this is we can combine these like terms. So I have a positive 18, and I have a negative 4. So that's the same thing as saying I have $18 in my pocket, but I owe someone $4, right? So how much do I have left over? So when we combine that, we have a 6x squared, or to the second degree, plus 14x minus 12. And this right here would be our answer. Okay? So moving along, we're going to do the same thing on this side. We're going to draw a box right here. Square, box, whatever you want to call it. Make sure you put 4 other squares inside of your square or box. We're going to take our first term right here. So we're going to put the 8 here. We're going to put 8x here and then the 8 here. We're going to take the second term here. So then we have an x and then a 5. And we're going to start multiplying. So we're going to multiply the 8x times x. So that's going to give me 8x squared. Okay. Then we're going to multiply here where we have 8 times x, which is going to give me 8x. Oh, you know what? I forgot my negative sign. Don't forget your negative signs. That's going to give me a negative 8x. And then I'm going to multiply my 8x times my 5, which is going to give me 40x. And then my 5 times my negative 8, which will give me a negative 40. All right, I am going to put boxes around my like terms, which is a negative 8x and a positive 40. All right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to write it in standard form. So I have an 8x squared, or to the second degree. Now I have a positive 40 and a negative 8. So that's like we have $40. And if I have $40, but I owe someone $8, that means that I'm going to have a positive 32x and negative 40. Okay, so we did 4 of these together. Now, this is the same thing here, okay? The only thing is area models just has a square. So you have your terms here. So I want you to do the same thing that we did with the last 4 problems. Let me change my color again. I'm not going to solve these problems for you, okay? I would like for you to set these up. For this one right here, you can distribute this one. So you can set it up where it's y on the outside, parentheses, 2. Sorry, I don't know what's going on with me. All right, so we can put the y out here, and then I have 2y plus 4, and then what I can do is I can distribute. So distribute your y to your 2y and your 4. Remember, this is the distributive strategy that we learned prior. Okay, that would be the easiest way to solve this. I'm not going to solve this for you. You take the time, pause the video, and solve it. Now, moving along to this one, you have two terms. This is the same thing like what we just did with the box method. So it's the same thing as saying, I'm going to draw the box for you. I'm going to write your terms right here. X plus 1 times 2x, minus 3. Okay, so minus 3. So I'm going to put this one right here, x and 1. And then I'm going to put this one on the side, 2x and a negative 3. I'm not going to work this out for you. You guys can work this out. Pause the video and work it out. Make sure that you do it. All right, so now we're going on to special multiplication. This is called square the binomials. So we have to remember that when you see the square sign here, see the square sign? That means that you're going to multiply this term twice. Let me show you what that looks like. When you see the square here, it's going to look like this. 2x minus 5 times 2x minus 5. You guys see that? So now we have to pick a strategy on how to solve it. We can use the box method or we can use the distributive. Now, on the previous problems that we did up here, we did the box method. I'm sorry, we did the box method. So down here, I'm going to show you guys the distributive method again. So what we're going to do is, let me change my color. I am going to, in parentheses, take this term right here and write 2x minus 5 and then multiply it by 2x. You guys see that? Then I'm going to take this 2x minus 5 again, and then I'm going to multiply it by the negative 5. And then guess what we get to do? We get to distribute. Yay! So you get to take your number outside the parentheses and distribute. Okay? So if we were to multiply the 2x times 2x, it's going to give me, let me change my color. It's going to give me 4x squared. My 2x times a negative 5 is going to give me a negative 10x, right? My negative 5 times this 2x is going to give me a negative 10x. And my negative 5 times my negative 5 is going to give me a positive 25. Guess what we get to do again? We get to combine our like terms, okay? So I'm going to rewrite this. So this is 4x squared. I have a negative, meaning I owe someone 10, and I owe someone another 10. So altogether, I owe 20. So it's a negative 20x plus 25, and this is your final answer right here. Okay? Make sure you guys write this down because I'm going to have to erase it so I can work on this one right here with you guys, the next one, number 11. So I'm going to erase this. Make sure you guys have this down. Make sure you copy everything down. Wonderful. I'll just erase all of this here. All right, now we're moving on to number 11. Moving on to number 11, I will do a blue. So again, remember, when it is squared, when you're squaring your binomials, remember this is a binomial because it has two terms, 3x and 1. Two terms, right? And you're squaring it. So you're saying 3x plus 1 times 3x plus 1. That's pretty much what square means. So this is what you're saying. 3x plus 1 times 3x plus 1. Now, we have to pick a strategy to solve this. We can use box method or we can use distributive. But since we use the box method up top, I'm going to show you guys again. we're going to use the distributive as we did with the last problem. So I'm going to take this term right here, 3x plus 1, and write it there. Then I'm going to take this 3x and write it in front. Then I'm going to take this 3x plus 1, put it there, and then I'm going to take this positive 1 and put it out in front. And guess what this means? Now we get to distribute. Okay? When we distribute, a 3x times a 3x is going to give me what? A 9x squared. A 3x times 3x times 1 is going to give me a positive 3x. A 1 times 3x is going to give me a positive 3x. And then a 1 times 1 is going to give me just 1. Nothing special. But the beautiful thing about this is we get to combine our like terms. Yay! So we have two like terms, 3x and 3x. So now we have a 9x squared, or to the second degree, plus 3x plus 3x. They're both positive, so that's going to give me a 6x. And then we have a positive 1, and guess what? This is our answer. Wonderful. All right, now moving along to the next one. I'll do this one in red. Remember, x minus 7y squared is the same thing as saying x minus 7y times x minus 7y. And we're going to use the box method for this one so you guys can see. Remember, you can choose either or whatever strategy works best for you. Okay? So we're going to draw our square, our box. We're going to take this first term, x, and then negative 7y, put it up there. And we're going to take our second term, x, and then a negative 7y, put it on the side. Let's multiply these. This is going to give me x squared. Let's multiply this right here. This is going to give me a negative 7xy. Okay? This right here is going to give me a negative 7xy. A negative 7y and a negative 7y is going to give me a what? Positive 49y. Now we get to do what we always do. I'm going to put a box around it. We get to combine our like terms. We are so lucky. Now I'm going to write in standard form. Okay? So we're going to start with our the term with our highest degree. So that's going to be x to the second degree. Then we have a negative 7xy and a negative 7xy and a positive 49y. And we're combining these two like terms. Okay? So x squared. If I have a negative 7 and a negative 7, that will give me a, wait, let me double check this. 7 positive, okay. So, yep, so this is going to give me a, for adding them, because we're adding our like terms, this is going to give me a negative 14xy plus 49y. And that is our final answer. Yay! How exciting. All right, so you guys should have all of this down on your paper. Let's move along to the next one. So here, we're going to multiply the sum and difference. So when we're doing multiplying the sum and difference, we are multiplying one binomial that's a sum plus and one that's a difference, which is a minus. So we're multiplying our binomials. So we're multiplying the same, see, x and 7, except one has a plus sign and the other one has a minus sign. So we can use the strategies that have been taught, which is the box method, right? Or the distributive method. Or one thing that we can say is that there's a formula for this. And so let me go over the formula for this, okay? You might want to put this on top. So the formula for this is very simple. We can say A plus B, A minus B. So when you multiply the sum and the difference, it's the same thing as saying you have one with a positive and one with a negative, but they're exactly the same, meaning the exact same numbers, okay? So we know if we're going to do A plus B in parentheses times A minus B, it's the same thing as saying, once you FOIL everything out, it's the same thing as saying A squared minus AB plus AB minus B squared, okay? And you notice, if you were to combine like terms, because there's a negative AB and a positive AB, guess what would happen to them? They would cancel each other out, which means it would leave you with, let's write this over here, A squared minus B squared. Okay, this formula is only going to work for the when you're multiplying the sum and the difference. So let me show you how this would work. If we were to do this problem right here, I'm going to write an A and a B, representing the A's and the B's that we have up here. So my A would be my X's, and my B's would be my 7's. So I know, given A squared minus B squared, all I have to do is plug in my numbers, which would leave me with my A is X squared minus, what is my B? It's 7 squared. X squared minus 7 squared is 49. And you have your answer. Remember, you can only do this when you're multiplying the sum and the difference. There's a formula for this that makes it a little bit easier. All right, let's move along to the next one. So remember, we're going to use this formula right here, A squared minus B squared. This will always apply when you're multiplying the sum and the difference. In order for you to be able to do this, you have to see, do you have the same exact terms? Does your binomial have the same exact terms, meaning 3x, and then I have a 2. I also have a 3x on this side and a 2, except one of them has a positive sign, one of them has a negative sign. That's the only way that this will work. All right, so we're going to do the same thing with 14. So my A and my B. So my A is going to be 3x. I'll just label them like this. And my B is going to be 2. So we know we're going to use this formula, A squared minus B squared. So A squared minus B squared. Now let's plug in our numbers. For the value A, we have what? 3x. So 3x squared minus our B is 2. 2 squared. So what is 3x squared? It's now going to be 9x squared minus 4. And that is our answer. Okay? Sorry. All right, let's go on to this one. I'm going to use green. Oh, no, I'm going to use blue. All right, so the exact same thing. Let's label our A. Let's label our B. Remember, our A and our B. So our A is X. My B is 3Y. Remember, A squared minus b squared. So let's plug in our values. So x squared minus, what is my b? 3y squared, which is going to give me x squared minus 9y squared. And this is my answer. All right? That was fairly easy. So for this one, with the polynomials, we're going to do this together as a class. We're going to be using this as a box method. We're going to go over this as a box method. All right, so I want you guys to make sure that you filled in all of your notes. And then we're going to work on the polynomials together in class. Polynomial times polynomial, as well as the practice worksheets that we have in class. And that way it will give you time to ask questions if you want to ask questions. Okay? All right. Bye.